Hi, good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be presenting on about my internship experience at Kitech Studio. So, something about Kitech Studio is they're a small architectural firm located at 125 Bukit Merah Lane 1, which is opposite Queensway Shopping Centre. They generally handle industrial housing, A&E, and institutional projects. Some of the key people in the firm was Alex Chu, our founder and the principal architect of the firm, Jean, the HR, Ken Yang and Ferman, the architectural assistants, and Atrisha, who is a part-time architectural assistant there. So Kitech Studio is a very friendly and chill environment, being very helpful and patient. It's very often where I see my colleagues asking for advice on how to move on projects from our boss when they are faced with very difficult or extremely hard problems. Another fun fact about them is that they make breakfast for each other, for one another every morning, which helps to get us to know one another better. For me, I cook on every Wednesdays, but it changes sometimes whether if some colleagues have side meetings in the morning. For our external relationships, Kitech Studio works together with many other firms and gets jobs generally through word of mouth, whether it's through our clients or people we have worked with before on other projects and they have recommended the firm. Some of the project tasks that I was tasked with doing was to draft out all drawings for multiple industrial buildings, in which I had to tabulate the GFA, travel distance annotations. Something that was quite difficult about this was that some of the industrial buildings didn't have any documentation previously, so I had to use pictures of hand-drawn floor plans and elevations as my reference. Kitech Studio is also quite detailed in these, so all the annotations were hand typed out and couldn't have broken lines, even if it did have PDF or previous AutoCAD documentation. One of the key things I did was to design the allocation of units for B1 Industrial Food Factory, helping to maximize the amount of units for the client to rent out. I also prepared construction drawings for residential A&A projects, which included waterproofing layouts, reflected ceiling plans, tiling layouts, typical details, and door and window schedules. This helped me to understand the construction process better, especially for tiled roof construction. I also handled some authority submission drawings, such as the SCDF, MAA, BCA, and JTC submissions. These came in very useful, especially when I had to design the drop-off point for a gateway theatre, in which I had to really take into account each of LTA requirements while designing it, like the gradient of the slopes. Some other project tasks, for example, is SketchUp and rendering. So I assisted in modeling and rendering some of the residential houses, as well as redesigning and modeling the drop-off theatre that I designed for Gateway Theatre. This was quite a challenge, especially since I didn't learn SketchUp in poly, but thankfully Kitech Studio gave me ample time to learn the software as well as the add-ons. I feel that my significant contribution would be in the 7 Changi South Lane project, which is a very big industrial building of 31,000 square meters of GFA. This project required me to do many tasks within a short time frame with high detail, and I had to do most of these tasks by myself as my colleagues were very busy with other projects, which was quite stressful for me, especially since the contract with the client was quite strict with submission deadlines. I don't know all the details, but from what I know, they would get fined if they had submitted late. For this project, I had 7 days to complete it, which include all the GFA, tabulation, and annotation, while not having any previous AutoCAD documentation. Thankfully, I managed to submit on time, and the project was managed to get kickstarted. Currently, I am still working with Kitech Studio, and we are working on the SIA tender drawings for this project. Another thing that I feel I've helped out a lot in is during my time at the firm, when I was done with my work early, I would take the initiative to ask my colleagues if they required any assistance with the projects that they were working on. This is because my colleagues had a lot of project tasks to do, and so they gave me more of the time-consuming and repetitive tasks, such as preparing submission forms, submission layouts, and project registration, which required a minor understanding of the projects. So some things that I've learned then was that during this internship it helped me to bridge the gap between what we've learned in class and the practical realities in architecture. I've gained a lot of hands-on experience in the drafting and modeling standards of the working world, as well as developing a deeper understanding in the building codes and regulations. And I also learned to learned about the importance of collaboration within the team and client communication. I learned to navigate the challenges of client-driven design challenges, requiring me to rework designs and have a lot of abortive work. But this internship has really taught me the importance of adaptability, patience, and maintaining a positive attitude even when faced with setbacks. Some of the interesting things to mention would be I had attended my colleague's wedding, and as well as many site visit opportunities, such as visiting a very large-scale industry building, as well as a TOP and CSC CD shelter inspection for a residential building. Some challenges that I encountered would be uncertainty, as I was unsure as to whether my work would be up to standard. Luckily, with the guidance of my colleagues, I managed to be able to carry out a task independently and with minimal instruction at the end of the internship. Another problem that I faced was a miscommunication with other firms, as I faced a lot of problems with communicating and contacting them, and which led to instances where I had to rush my task to meet the deadline. Thankfully, through this, I learned to ask even more questions to ensure that we were on the same page before I continued doing my work. And it was not to not assume and to always get confirmation when working with outside of the firm. So my 6-month internship has been very incredibly rewarding, as it provided me a very valuable glimpse into the professional life. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have worked with such a welcoming environment, and I especially appreciate my supportive colleagues who have played a crucial role in my learning and development during this time. I have developed greater resilience in handling stress and pressure, and learning to effectively manage the workload during and deliver high quality results even in challenging situations. This internship has truly been a positive experience, and I'm very thankful for the camaraderie I shared with my colleagues, which made the work environment even more enjoyable. Some tips I would give for next intern would be to not be afraid to ask questions, as the office can be quite intimidating, especially since it's quite quiet. However, everyone in Architect Studio are very great at answering and explaining things and are very open to question. Another thing I recommend them to do would be to find things to do after work to break the cycle of repeating the same thing every week. So my aspirations after poly would be, after serving 2 years in NS, I would plan on applying for a degree in landscape architecture or urban design. I plan on trying for local universities like SUTD and UM. However, I am quite open to overseas universities as well. That's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening so far.